How we doing, guys? Belvin here. Wait a few minutes, give some folks a chance to come in before I discuss tonight's topic. Oh boy. Good evening. When God shows you what you are not. Hey, Tammy. How we doing, love? Great to have you on. I'm going to wait another 30 seconds or so. Wait a few more minutes, give folks a chance to jump in. If not, I'm going to go ahead and teach the message. I'm going to go ahead and teach the message and let it be what it's going to be. Share what I'm going to share. And then take it easy. I forgot to put that in for tonight. Brother Cash, what's going on? Hey, Tammy. Hey, Kyle. Are we doing okay? If I got that right. If I got it wrong, I apologize. Can you guys hear me? Before I get started, I want to make sure that you can hear me. What's good, Cash? Actually, I'm about to get into a little something. Two Masters, Cash. You'll definitely understand because you've had to go through this and I've had to go through this, and sometimes we have to reinvent ourselves, and it's not a matter of reinventing for business sake. It's reinventing because that's where God decides to take you. So I'm going to wait about another 30 seconds, give folks a chance to jump in, and then I'm going to get right into it because I wrote some notes that I want to share first. Just things that as I was driving today, coming home from New York, and actually this was based on what I had written the other day about when the Lord allows you to see something about yourself that you maybe wish you hadn't seen. But at that point, once you see it, you don't have a choice. You got to act on what God has shown you, even if we don't like it. And I think too often, many of us see things differently, but we're scared to step out and do differently. So I'm going to get into it. All right. No more waiting. Let's get started. Okay. Good evening, guys. I am Belvin, which you know if you've joined on my Facebook page, you know who I am. And as most of you know, I wear multiple hats simply because that is what I thought God wanted me to do. And I still think he wants me to wear multiple hats. But unfortunately, in the last couple of days, from meditating and taking the time out to pay attention to what God has placed on my spirit. And that's another thing too, before we get into tonight's message. Learn to take time. Hey guys, hey, what's going on, guys? Hey, Drina, hey, Scratch, Sin, what's going on, darling? Cynthia. Learn to take time to be alone with yourself. Learn to take time to meditate, to pray. Good evening, brother. Give yourself alone time with your thoughts, your feelings, and God. It is extremely important. Most of us believe that we are the center of our universe, even though we may not let others, hey Cynthia, even though we may not allow others to believe that. In our private thoughts, many of us start a lot of our ideas with us being at the center. Now, we love the Lord. I'm not questioning that. But a lot of us start from a me platform simply because it's what's comfortable. It's what we know. Yes, praying and meditate. It's what we know. And it's what's comfortable. Many of us don't want to start things off in an uncomfortable position. So we start off in a comfortable position and then pray that God will lead us from there. But this is what gets me to what I want to talk about tonight. There's a Yiddish proverb that says, man plans and God laughs. Now, I had heard that before a while back when I was watching the movie, and please forgive me for not remembering the movie. But then I was watching on Periscope, someone had said it again. I said, I've heard that somewhere before. So tonight I looked it up, and it's a Yiddish proverb, but it means a man proposes, but God disposes. And I thought about that for a second before I came on. I said, I get it. I understand it. We create plans. We create grandiose ideas. And they tell you, if you can perceive it, you can achieve it. That's fine. That doesn't mean that that's what God wants for you. That doesn't mean that that's what God built you for. Hey, Latanya. And often we will perfect, and I'm going to get into some particulars too, but often we believe that everything that we're doing is God instructed, when in actually it was created by us, and we're trying to put it together hoping that God blesses us because we said we want to center it upon or around him. And it is very easy to mislead yourself. That's why I'm talking about me tonight and myself and the things that I have to do differently. So I figured I'll get on tonight, but you can take it and run with it, because back in 2008, when Tiff and I were on our anniversary trip, I was reading a book, and hey guys, hey, man, I think I made it shaking my head. Still trying to be blessed to what I have the Lord. Okay. But listen, God, I'm praying this helps somebody tonight, because Lord knows I needed to really sit down. And I normally don't take too many notes. I normally can do things off the top of my head. I needed to put some things down because it was serious business what me and God was discussing these last couple of days. And I guess the move was necessary for me to be in all this quiet, for me to hear him fully. Now, you guys that may not have that connection with God may go, what is he talking about? That's why you got to get quiet. But I'm going to go through some things. But like I was saying, back in 2008, and excuse me if I look away because I'm looking at my notes. I read Pastor Max Lucado, depending on how you say it, Max Lucado's book, Cure for the Common Life, Living in Your Sweet Spot. Now, I read that back in 2008, and he talked about the spiritual gifts that we're all given. That all of us are given talents uniquely innate to us. But as time grows and as we grow, we create roadblocks to those talents and move off in other directions due to money, responsibilities, love, hurt, pain, whatever. You name the emotion. We will allow that to cause us to head in the direction and believe that that direction is where God wanted because of everything that's going on around us and to us and whatever. Not necessarily true. Because if you didn't know what your talent, definitely fear. Any emotion, pick it. It could be a negative or positive, but if it moves you away from what God has gifted you to do, then no matter what you're doing, it's not God-centered. And most often, as I said a few minutes ago, it's us-centered. But we figure if we put God around us like a coat, it's got to be okay. I'm telling the world I'm doing this for God, and people can see I'm doing this for God. But the real question is, it goes back to the Yiddish proverb. God plans, man plans, God laughs. Man proposes, God disposes. So if God disposes, and the reason why God disposes is because we honestly believe we're doing what God has created us to do. The wording sounds right, our behavior sounds right, but here's the true test. And this is what I'm going to get into. And as I get into this, then I'll explain to you what God has did for me. So if it works, you can write it down. Here's your plan, or our plan. Let's put it that way. We're here together, guys. And thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the smiley faces, everything. Our plan. It may sound tremendous. We may sit down and think about what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and we make it sound outstanding. And we go, got to be God-centered. This is too perfect. I can't believe I laid this down like this. No one's playing like this. Okay. The next thing, it may make a whole lot of money for you. So you figure the plan has to be correct. I thought about it. I created it. I put it out there. I'm doing it. I'm living it. God is blessing me. I'm making money at it. I got to be doing what God asked me to do. Are you? I'll continue. You may see, many may see it as a great opportunity or a great move for you. They may get behind you and like, listen, that's a good look, and start cheering you. Start telling you, man, I wish I had came up with that idea. Sit down in your basement, sit down in your attic, sit down in the backyard, sit down wherever and go, listen, whatever I could do to help you with this. That's you, son. That's you, girl. Move on that. And they may love the idea, want to support it. But is it what God wanted from you? Is it what your talents were given to you for? And is it even connected to your talents? And if you just joined in, again, we're talking about when God exposes who you really are compared to, definitely, no problem, brother, I appreciate it. When God reveals who you really are compared to who you think you are. And not in the negative, because I'm not saying that these things, thank you so, yo, no problem, brother Cash. You know me and you, no doubt. But now I'm gonna continue. And this is again talking about the plans we have. And again, hold on to this Yiddish proverb. Man plans, God laughs. Man proposes, God disposes. Very important. And then the final one that I wrote down is you may even convince yourself that this plan will serve God and others. You may sit down and say to yourself, I'm going to do all these things for my church, my community, my family. I'm going to do all these things with this money that I'm making. The idea was sound. Yo, God has to be behind me with this. Hey, Phyllis, how you doing? And I love the pens, Phyllis. Thank you so much. And you may now, the whole transformation is complete. You're like, yes, people are rewarding you. You're out here making it happen. But you never stopped at the gate and asked yourself, is this what God gave me to do? Is this what my talents were for? Do I even know what my talents are? And because the idea was so sound, had to be from God. How could it not be? I'm making money. People are being helped by what I'm doing. So I got to be doing what God asked me to do. I'm serving. I'm helping. Now I understand why it said man plans and God laughs. Because imagine that he's watching you doing all this and you're nowhere near where he wanted you to be. You're not even scratching the surface of the talents that he gave you. Now here's some things that I wrote down from God's point of view to us and to me. And I'm going to get into myself of why I came up with all this. God's plan for you and for us, and again, I got to change that. God's plan for us is his design. And he doesn't always share his design for us. He leads us. But many of us want so badly to lead, we don't know how to follow. Hence, go back to the plan that you created. Go back to what I said earlier about we create with us at the center, not God. So when everything starts to fall in place for us, we believe we have to be right. How could we not be? But God's designs are his. His plans are his. His talent that he gave us. And again, I apologize. The plans that he gave us, the talents that he gave us is for us to serve him by helping others the way he designed. Next one. God built us with a talent that's been with us from birth. See, we created a plan after we gained knowledge of school, knowledge of a particular business, particular industry, knowledge from the pain in a relationship, knowledge from the blessing of a child, knowledge from wherever. So with that knowledge, when we started to become the architect, again, how could we feel wrong when it just feels right? But when you read scripture that says God knew you before you were even born, and he gave you talents that was with you from the time that you were born, then if you're not lining up what's with what he's given you, you're wrong. We're wrong. No matter how right it feels. And we get in trouble because the further or the deeper we get into what we created, the further we get away from God, the further we get away from the true happiness. So I'll continue. God's plan is fulfilling and easy to do. And when I mean fulfilling, I mean spiritually fulfilling, socially fulfilling, physically fulfilling, emotionally fulfilling. And it's so easy to do that you almost have to say, this can't be this easy. But one of the things that Pastor Max Lucado talked about in his book was that that's how you find your sweet spot. By looking at the things that you could do without even thinking about it. That you could do with your eyes closed. That you could do blindfolded. That you could do when a whole room of people can't do. Even if it's something as rudimental as fried chicken. You may go, fried chicken? Yes, you just fry it better than anybody else around you. And for whatever reason, people gravitate to it. People love it. And when they're indulging in your talent, they're open to you to be able to discuss with them whatever you want. God's design, not ours. I also put down God, the effect or the outcome of using or doing what God has asked you to do and using God's talents that he's given you, it's noticeable in others. And I'm going to go over all these again. So if you missed something, I'll definitely go over it for you. But the effects or outcome are noticeable in others. So when you use the godly talent that he has given you, when you use God's design for you the way he designed you to be used, not only do you serve others, not only do you see the outcome, it is so noticeable that others see it and they come. Why are all these people lined up just for fried chicken? And before you can open up your mouth, somebody else will say, wait till you have chicken, bruh. Wait till you talk to that man as he's frying that chicken, or wait till you see it, and wait till you show up and have no money and he lets you get the fried chicken anyway. Really? Bruh, it's crazy. It's like God sent them. It's like God sent them. My princess is wide awake. and the sad part is when you start to think about it, is that yes, the outcomes will be noticeable. They'll be noticeable to you. They'll be noticeable to the people that you're serving. And most important, they'll be noticeable to God. When you're using that talent that was given to you by God to be used for his children, not for you. See, once you take you out the center and put God in the center, the focus changes. Hence, the plan changes. Hence, man plans, God laughs. Another thing, your talents serve a greater purpose. Your talents serve a greater purpose, and that is not always given to you. That is not always told to you. And when it is revealed to you, it's mind-blowing. And when it is revealed to you, that all this time you were frying chicken. You were feeding somebody who was close to death. You were feeding somebody who was about to go out and commit a crime because they were so hungry. That when you sat down and spoke to that person when they were eating your food, they turned around and decided that they were going to tell somebody else about you, and that somebody else didn't do something negative. That somebody else brought somebody else, and then they all start to learn about God through you just frying chicken, using your talents. See, we as talented children always believe that if we do it and put God's name to it, it's got to be right. Look at the outcome. Look at how well I'm doing. God laughs. Think about your own children for a second. If you ask them to cut the lawn and you tell them, and you don't tell them how you want it done, and they decide how they're going to cut the lawn, when you come back out and look at your lawn, you're going to laugh. What were y'all thinking? Now they're going to turn around to you and say, but Dad, but Mom, we got the lawn done. And you'll laugh because you'll go, you worked that hard? That's not. And you laugh because their plan sounded great. But because you knew more, you knew there was a better way. Well, our Father in heaven's no different. And again, I'm sharing all this with you because I had to be taken through this myself. I had to sit down and actually listen and go through some of these same things. And one of the last ones I'm going to give you under God's plans for us. It may not make sense to others. So you may not get all the support, the money, the accolades. You may not get any of that. You may actually be in such a negative situation that at times when you're doing what God has designed you to do, you actually start to question. God, I know this is what you created me to do, but I'm being laughed at. I know this is what you created me to do, but I'm being treated badly. I know this is what you created me to do, but everyone just seems to ignore me and chooses the other dude. They support the other guy and they go to the other guy's functions or they eat the other guy's chicken. And I get these same raggedy 15 people that come in here to eat this chicken. I'm struggling, God. But here's the funny thing. When you talk to people who's been through it, because they didn't quit, somehow they made a way. Somehow God kept those doors open or kept you doing whatever it is your talents led you to do. And then all of a sudden, blessings, more than you could count, more than you feel you deserve, start to show up. Show up to such a degree that you get nervous. Wait a minute, am I going to die soon that God just keeps bringing all this to me? No. We might, I don't know. God has that decision too. But when you are using your godly talents to honor the Father with those talents that he gave you, he is going to make sure that you're okay. He is going to make sure that you're going to be able to continue using those talents. Now, you may never have the mansion and the yacht. You might. But you have to be prepared that you may not. But the people that you serve with your talents may never have known about the mansion or yacht anyway. And God needed you right where he needed you. So the reason why I created all this and the reason why I brought all this up is that God's voice was resounding to me, that I realized that I am not an author, nor am I a writer. I do write. I have written poetry and published it. I have written my memoir and published it. I have written my first fictional novel and published it. I have been a part of 5 or 6 anthologies and all good work that I believe, but I do not believe that that's what God designed me to do. And I'll explain to you why. I'm going to go back over the other stuff in a second. Actually, let me do that now before I talk about me. If you just came on or you're just watching, or we talked about, real quick, man plans, God laughs. That is a Yiddish proverb. A proverb that means man proposes, God disposes. And too often we create based on how we feel, with us at the center of doing it, because we believe we're honoring God by what we do, because we're going to make sure that everything that we do, we give God credit and favor for. Okay, nothing wrong with that. But here's the problem with that. God has to be at the center, not you. God has to be at the center. So if God is at the center, how do you know that's what God asked you to do? Well, how do you find out what he asked you to do? What talents has he given you? And using those talents to serve others. Now, here's what happens when we plan. 1, may sound tremendous. 2, may make a lot of money. 3, may seem like a great move or opportunity for you. 4, people may love the idea and support it or help you with the moves and want to be behind it because it just seems tremendous. 5, you may convince yourself that you are serving God and others because of how well this plan has come together. That's our planning. But God's plan, his design. When you have a built-in talent from birth and using that built-in talent, knowing what that built-in talent is. God gave us all a talent. Number 1, God gave us all a talent that we've had since birth, uniquely to us, that we do well. Sometimes it is so rudimental that we look past it because we connect to things that are so far removed from the talent that we go, my talent can't be frying chicken, as I mentioned. My talent can't be the way I can arrange an apartment. Come on, ain't no money in that. No money in it for you, or is this what God designed you to do? That's the question you and God have to have, which means you have to get into a meditation place where you can sit down and allow God to show you, grant you the clarity of what you were designed to do. Second, when God's plan, what God's plan is for you, his plan is fulfilling and easy to do. Not so much easy to handle emotionally, spiritually, but easy to do. It's what he designed you to do. And that's actually one of the things that Max Lucado says you can do to figure out what your godly talent is. He said to live your life backwards and think of the things that you could do without even thinking about it. Things that you could do in the dark. Things that you could do without being blindfolded. Things that you could do without any reservations. Easy to do. 3, the effects and the outcomes of using the talents that God's given you are noticeable to others. They'll be noticeable to you. They will be incredibly noticeable to others, and others will come. They will come. They will come because they want to know how, there's just something about it. They'll actually say it. Now, they may not know why they're there. They're going to say, saw something. It's just the way you do that. The way you fix that apartment, the way you clean, the way you speak, whatever it is, the way you counsel, the way you mentor, the way you, whatever, the way you preach, the way you sing. And it's when it's God's plan, it serves a greater purpose. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Serves a greater purpose. And that one, God doesn't always show you what the greater purpose is. You may not know what that purpose is until later on, but when he shows you, you will be blown away. Trust me. And it doesn't always lend to money. It doesn't always turn into money. You may find yourself trying to figure out, how am I supposed to do this? But trust and believe that you will be taken care of. God will make sure that you're able to continue doing what you're doing. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have the mansion and the yacht. I said that. It doesn't mean that you're going to get this windfall that a lot of people would like you to believe. It may be a struggle your whole life. But the blessing may come when you actually face God and he looks you in the face and says, great work, my child. I love what you did with what I gave you. Now let me show you what I got for you. And many of us don't take that into consideration. So we actually make moves on earth to try to develop as much earthly treasure instead of just pure service. And it's hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's not. It's very hard. It's hard to just give away sometimes and do for others and not yourself consistently. It is hard, especially when there's things that you can do so well that could make you money that you just, why can't I do that? Well, again, that's a conversation you and God have to have. And one of the things when it's God's plan, the last one, I believe, number 7, it's not always going to make sense. When you and God have a conversation and he asks you to make moves, it's not going to make sense to a lot of people. Some people are going to spend their time trying to talk you out of it because they're going to try to, and it's going to come from a position of material in a lot of cases. Do you know what you're giving up? Do you know what you're walking away from? Why would you do that? Who would do that in this place when you could have so much? That's when your faith has to be its strongest, because their arguments are going to make sense. Their arguments are going to be so, it's going to almost seem divinely, when they start to explain that you could just do this and do that, but you have to trust your spirit. And you also have to trust the sense of fulfillment that you're going to get and that you have had when using your talents. Because that's going to help see you. That's going to be a light in some very dark places. When you feel the darkness closing in around you, that light of fulfillment, that light of service, that light of knowing that you're doing what God has asked you to do is going to be what's needed to sustain you. When many people around you are going to look at you like you're a fool. Some are even going to tell you you're a fool. It might be your significant other. It might be someone that you love dearly that looks you in the face and go, you must have lost your damn mind. Hey, what's going on, brother? Good to have you by. Catch up on everything that we're doing here. I appreciate you, man. Now, back to me. This last week, since moving to Delaware, I've had the chance to sit down and get back to studying and taking my time with the Lord. I had found that I was falling away from making God the center of what I do. I was making me the center and everything else, and I was connected to everything else and doing all the things that I felt God wanted me to do with my books and the company and everything else. And in my meditating and in my studying, I started to get this hard, harsh feeling. So I said, okay, Lord, I'm not feeling comfortable. I wasn't sleeping comfortable. Now, it's wonderfully quiet here. I love it. And I said, okay, I need to really sit down and try to figure out what's going on. I need to get into a conversation with God and find out what it is. And what I realized is that I'm not an author. I'm not a writer. Yes, I write. Yes, I have published books. Yes, I wrote poetry and had it published. I have 3 published books to date. I'm a part of 5 anthologies, and I have been a part of different things in the literary world that I am very proud of. My wife and I have been featured in Ebony magazine. I have been on quite a few of the New York radio stations, Hot 97, WBLS. I've been on CNN. And while some would look at that and go, yo, son, you doing big things, it's not what God wanted. And when I had the chance to really go back over it, it wasn't fulfilling. Because all that I've said to you, and even with the prospects of the next couple of books that I'm writing, when I really sat down and asked myself and said, could I walk away from it tomorrow? All of it, the books, the publishing company. Yes. Yes. If I didn't write another book, I wouldn't lose any sleep. If I didn't publish another book, I wouldn't lose any sleep. I realized that as an author, hey, what's up, Danelle? As an author, I had made it about the books. No, that's not what God wanted. I am a teacher, a real teacher, not someone who has taught for different systems. Yes, I was a teacher for 20 years, but I just sent in my resignation papers this week to the Department of Education. And I realized that as a teacher, I have to speak. And I have to teach others how to help themselves be better at whatever God created them to be. So I realized that I am a speaker and a philosopher who writes, but I was put here to speak. I was put here to teach. Now I taught. Now let's just go over some of the things I told you. A gift that I've had since birth. Yes, I have been a teacher since birth, because when I replayed it, I thought about how many times I've had conversations with older people and heard them say, you taught me something, son. Really? I didn't know that. And how well I retain information, and how well I can take that information, twist it into a way that makes it make sense to somebody else that I'm speaking to. And helping others is something that I love to do. And then when I started to put it together, the more I listened to God about, well, when I'm teaching and when I'm speaking and when I'm helping and when I'm serving, I'm at my best. I'm at my best spiritually. I'm at my best emotionally. I'm at my best physically. And so my books were part of, or tools of, what I do. But I had made the books the focus of what I was doing. So, of course, I started to consider the sales. I started to consider the promotional stuff. I started to consider the marketing stuff. I started to consider what other authors I needed to be connected to and what other authors I had to work with. And the more I thought about it this week of what I do and who I am and the talents that I have, I started to realize that the reason why none of that works, it's not who I am. I am not an author. So the fact that I'm not an author, I don't get excited about being around other authors. I don't. No disrespect to authors. But I could be in a room full of authors and I'm like Miss Celie in Color Purple. Everyone is excited about Sugar Avery showing up in church and I'm just sitting there clapping my hands. Okay. When people start to tell me about different literary awards, I could care less if I win one, if I'm considered for one. I don't care. When people start telling me about New York Times bestseller list and all this, I could care less. What I care about is who I can help with my poetry, who I can help teach with From Gigolo to Jesus, who I can teach who God is through Lukewarm Saint. So then I've been hearing since I was a youngster, are you a minister? And I've been saying no for the longest. But a teacher is part of my teaching, is my ministry. So yes, I am a minister. I just do it in the form of teaching. When I started to sit back and think of how easy it is for me and how I serve other people and I watch how noticeable it is in them the help that I give. How easy it was for me to walk away from working for the Department of Education in New York because I never had fear that God wasn't going to take care of me. When I look at what I do and how I do it, I know some of it doesn't make sense to others. All the things that I gave you tonight. I also understand that what I do and how I do it is not always going to make me money. And Lord knows I've been there. Hell, I've lost money trying to help some folks that maybe if I had taken the time out and practiced some discernment, I wouldn't have done business with. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't have helped them. I might not have did business the way I did it. So the last 2 days, I really had to look deeper into who I was and then ask myself, why am I not doing? Glad to know who you can help. I got your book order for library and personal copy of my phone, tablet. I agree with you. But I do care about authorship too. But I do care about, okay. No, and I'm like I said, I'm not knocking authors, and I'm still going to write book 2 and 3 to Lukewarm Saint because I have plans. I'm going to create workbooks that go with From Gigolo to Jesus and all 3 of the Lukewarm Saint books as I complete them to help other people. But I'm not knocking authors because if that's what you were born to do, well, it goes to what I was saying. Use the talents that God has given you. See, books were just tools for me. I had just made them the center. And so when I say about caring for authors, I'm talking about being an author as the craft, not authors themselves. Because I help authors on a regular. When I publish, it's one of the reasons why I work on referrals. When people are referred to me, they already know what's expected when you come to work with me. And then I jump in completely to help you get your book done. So of the 32 books that we've worked on, I've had the pleasure of knowing I've helped as well as taught other people. I've had publishers actually get mad because they're like, why are you showing them how to do that? Because then how are we supposed to make money? You're not going to understand how I do what I do. But I asked, and you're right, Tammy, I did, because I did ask the Lord for clarity. I always do. Because I want to know what he wants from me. This move was part of me asking him for clarity, and sure enough, it was granted to me. The way things have fell into place is because I asked him to show me. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. I walked away from $90,000. Like I said, some people are not going to understand it. Some people are going to think I'm ridiculously crazy. It's okay. When I tell you I'm at a place of peace and that I took the necessary things to do the things that I felt God wanted me to do, and I'm okay. My family's going to be okay. And clarity is so important because that's why we have to take the time out to spend time with God to understand what is it that God wants us to do and what are our talents. If you don't know what your talents are, how do you know what God wants you to do? Because if he gave you the talent to type, but you're always doing something different, then how are you using the talent he gave you? If he gave you the talent of perception, to be able to perceive things, to be able to plan based on that perception, but you're not using it, then who are you helping? And just because you're successful in another area doesn't mean that that's what God intended for you. And I would implore anyone to read Max Lucado's book, Cure for the Common Life, Living in Your Sweet Spot. When I read the book 8 years ago, it planted seeds that I didn't even realize were there until this week when I started thinking about what I had read back then and what he had started saying about living your life backwards to be able to make sense of some of the talents that you have. And he gave examples of very powerful men who, when they started to get into their lives and live it backwards, that they realized that Martin Luther King was one. That Martin Luther King had been a defiant child. That when talking to his father, he had mentioned that he was always fighting for some cause when he was coming up. And that it was always part of his DNA. So hence, when he got older, and another one that he gave, which I thought was incredible, was Moses. And using the Bible, he talked about Moses overcoming odds early, being a person whose job it was to administer justice, to administer an understanding of what God wanted, even when at times he didn't understand what was going on. That's what he was doing. And then as he got older, he took his rightful place. But I would definitely say read Max Lucado's Cure for the Common Life, Living in Your Sweet Spot. It's two dogs sitting on a couch. If you want to know the cover of it, it's actually a real good read. I'm actually going to download it again and read it again. I've read it like 4 or 5 times. And now that I've packed up all my books and stuff, I can't find it. So I think I'm just going to download the ebook. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm going to download the audio if they have it on audio, because that's another thing too. I've been sitting here fighting with myself with trying to read all these books when I am an auditory learner. I have listened to more books and enjoyed listening to more books than I have read. Oh my gosh. I just enjoy audiobooks more than I do reading. So I always find it funny when I hear people go, I don't like when I hear people say they don't enjoy reading. I don't. I enjoy listening to stuff being read. Oh, appreciate it, brother. Hey, thank you for actually hanging out with me tonight. Appreciate it. And I dug the music. I got to get in touch with you to get some music when I'm back in New York. So what I realized is that for me as an auditory learner, when someone speaks, it has a different effect on me compared to if you tell me to go and read. Like when I'll give you an example. When someone says a good afternoon to me is sitting on the beach and reading a good book. See, that's torture to me. But driving in a car and listening to a great audiobook, I love it. And so what I found is that has actually fueled my writing. The more books that I had started listening to fueled my writing. It actually fueled because I'm able to think. And it also has fueled my teaching. Another great book to get if you want to read or download the audio, and I've said this numerous times before, Stuart Scott's Every Day I Fight. So are your book? No, my books are not on audio yet. That's something that I'm considering. As I see what direction the Lord takes me in, that's something I may consider, how to turn those into audios. But I don't know if the audio versions is going to fit the way I'm going to use them as tools for the teaching that I'm going to do. So I'm working on the workbooks that are going to go along with the actual books, because I want to be able to provide them to churches and other organizations as teaching tools. So I don't necessarily know if I'm going to do the audios right now. We'll see. It's something that I'm looking into. There's about 3 or 4 different sites that you can turn your book into the audio version. So I'm definitely going to look at that. I wouldn't mind having my books in audio to listen to my own books. But Stuart Scott's Every Day I Fight. Oh, I believe every young man of color should sit down and listen to his words or read his words, because there's just things about him I did not know, and just the way he dealt with his cancer and the way he did things being a public individual, because he had on Sports Center, and then how he loved his children and how he took care of his children. Every brother with children should read what this man was doing while still having cancer, and how after every bout of chemotherapy, he made his way to the gym or made his way to the kickboxing dojo to work out, because he refused to allow cancer to have a toehold until his body could no longer do anything. So for me, in realizing that I'm not an author and writer, I'm not saying that I don't write. I will be writing, but it's not going to be the focus of what I'm doing. My teaching, my speaking, my ministry is going to be that. I'm back in grad school. I went back into grad school in January, and I'm working on a second master's degree. This one is in humans. Yes. Yes, a fantastic book. I have it. Outstanding. That one, I had read that one. And the four, I forget what the other one was I read right before his. I got to get my phone. But fantastic book. Every day I fight. And I'm going to tell you something. And then when you go back and look at some of the YouTubes of him on ESPN, to now understand what was going on behind the scenes, and how being sometimes the only individual of color in situations where there were no other individuals of color, and then realizing that he took a job that was paying next to nothing, but he understood 4 agreements. There we go. Yes, thank you. See, that's why you gotta open up and talk to people. You'd be surprised who you have on your timeline. Andrina's is on point, and her library skills are without question. Thank you so much. The 4 Agreements is another one that I read right before I read Stuart Scott's book. So I had the 2 floating around inside my head, and it just really started to make sense when you watch how other people use their talents. When you watch how other people give to others when they didn't have to. He understood that he had cancer, but he understood that it's something I'm going to have to deal with, but my faith and my love for my children is going to push me to deal with this. It is when you think of that, and you think of how so many people just fold up and quit for lesser things, and you listen to the words, and he wrote this book knowing that he may not beat this. It moved me as much as when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, a book that stayed with me to this day. I actually have a tattoo here on my left arm of a large X, just to remind me of who Malcolm X was and the changes that he made in his life. And that came to fruition this week too. When I realized that I had to change my focus and do some things differently, I said, you know what? I grew up enjoying who Malcolm X was, going from Malcolm Little to Detroit Red to Malcolm X to Malik El Haj Shabazz, and actually naming my son El Haj, but we named him Elijah because my ex-wife was not going to allow me to name him El Haj. She would have actually divorced me. Well, if I had known I was going to get divorced anyway, I think I might have named him El Haj. But here I had grew up just looking at this man's life and just understanding it and how it spoke to me. And here I went through some of those same changes and going through it now. So what I realized that when I sat down and had a conversation with God, I realized that I had been neglecting my teaching because I was only limiting it to school because they were paying me, because that was easy. And I wasn't setting up the things on the outside of the school building the same way. And with my writing, I was writing. Of course, I've been writing. But I wasn't setting it up to teach, to serve him in a better way. It was serving me. So it made it very difficult to now say, okay, let's put the brakes on and go in a different direction. So Max Lucado's book came to mind. Stuart Scott's book came to mind. The autobiography of Malcolm X came to mind. The 4 Agreements came to mind. And I started realizing that I've read these books because the Lord planted seeds of things that I could call on to help me, as well as just looking at my talents. Now, it's not going to be easy to have to hit the brakes at 48. But Moses was 80. Moses was 80 when he was asked to go back and battle Egypt. with a cloak and a staff and his man Aaron. Now stop and think about that for a second. You've been a shepherd for 40 years, chilling, and God show up and say, okay, bruh, you now got to go on and take on the whole kingdom of Egypt with a stick and a coat and your partner. But I got you. We do just like Moses, try to come up with every excuse in the world not to go. Lord, I stutter. No, that's okay. I got somebody that comes that speaks very well. You'll be all right. So that's why I mentioned earlier about it being about us. Take me out the picture, put God in the middle, and go from there. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So if you see less of me with the promotions of my books and things like that, it's because I'm working on some things. Just bear with me. Keep an eye on me. I'll still be here speaking, because that's the one thing I'm going to be doing more of. More videos. And this is going to go, once I'm done here, I move this over to my blog and I'll move this over to YouTube. Actually, I put a video up the other day to show you how you can actually take your Facebook Live videos and turn them into videos that can be saved on your computer and then uploaded where you need them. So I then take them from here, upload them on YouTube so other people can find them, as well as on my blog, and then I share the links to my blog out. But the biggest thing is that I hope anybody watching now live, or anybody who watches on replay, that it helps. I hope that I've been able to help someone tonight. And I never liked the term, if I could just teach one person. Well, you know what? I realized that that's very important. My own arrogance, I used to say, I don't want to teach just one. I want to teach them all. That was me at the center. What I realized with God at the center, that if you've helped one person understand who they are in the eyes of God, you've done a tremendous thing. And before I left New York, I had about 30, no, I take it back. I had about 40 to 50 of my former students just start showing up. God bless them all. They just started showing up and sharing about what I had did in their lives. And of course, they're grown. And one of the things that I said to you, that in God's plan, it serves a greater purpose. And the effects and outcome are noticeable in others. In the past month and a half, I have had close to 60. I'll say it's about 60. Because it was just crazy. And I still keep getting former students who have joined my page. Now, I've been on Facebook for years. And some of these kids I taught 15 years ago, 13 years ago, 12 years ago. So they're all well into their 20s, some in their 30s. Actually, I have some students that's about 30, 31 years old. So to hear them say, you were this to me at that age, and I needed it, and you helped me, and I've been blown away. But now I understand this week why God sent them. See, it's not always going to make sense when you make moves that God asks you to do. But you got to trust. You got to have faith. Make the move. Do what God asks you to do. Don't worry about those who don't understand. God will send you word from those that you may not have seen in a while, just to let you know. You're good. Thank you. And if you're not sure what your talents are, get quiet. Sit down somewhere and get quiet and allow God to show you. Allow God to speak. And then when he speaks, you move. Just do. Don't worry about those who don't understand. Don't worry about those who don't want to rock with you. Don't worry about those who tell you a fool. I had a woman say to me, how the hell could you walk? How could you live walking away from $90,000? I said, well, by clearing the way with the 90, it opens up the door if God wants to grant me 45 or 180. She said, but you don't know that. I said, listen, I don't know God personally, but I believe he's there, so I'm good. And she then said, I wish I could do that, but I just can't. But then I asked her, do you go to church? She said, yes. I said, why? She said, what do you mean, why? I said, why do you go to church? If you don't believe God is there, then why are you in the building? And she just said, I don't know, and walked away. Okay. The definition of faith that all of us know is faith is the belief in things that cannot be seen. But it also means the absence of fear. I'm not fearful. I don't think I have been lately. There were times I was fearful. But what I've realized, when you start to understand your talents, the hardest part is making sure that you don't misuse them. That you don't then, because now that you've been shown your talent, you run and put yourself back in the middle. Because now that God has given you a little light, you go, okay, God, I got this. It's like playing ball and, God fed you a couple of shots. You hit a couple of shots. Now, God, I got this. I'm going to take the next 25. No, doesn't work that way. Take the assist. Take what you got. Just chill. There's a reason why God got the point. And I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate everything that you're saying. Lauren, Robert, Adrena, I appreciate it because as brothers and sisters in the faith, we have to share with each other. We have to be strong enough to share with each other when other people around us go, that Negro man, I ain't listening to him. Because this is why so many of our brothers and sisters are being led astray. Because they're so fearful to have daily and open communion with God themselves that they try to get God third party. Through their pastor, through their friends, through Facebook, through apps. Instead of taking the tools that God has given and then saying, okay, God, I'm going to sit with you. And even if I don't hear nothing, I'm just going to sit still and see what my Holy Spirit tells me. But we make all the excuses in the world. You know how many people said to me, KL, I wish I was brave enough to move, man. I'm so tired of where I want to be. I'm so tired of living here. And then when I started to post about the peace of mind that I have here, watching my daughter run up and down the hallway here and out in the backyard and everything like that, it's almost like people are scornful, but it's okay. I know it's not me that they're scornful at. They're scornful at themselves because they know they want to do something. But fear has replaced faith. Well, I'm here to try to tell folks simply, take some time to get to know God again so he can teach you. This is what you ask him. Lord, forgive me for the things that I have done wrong, and please grant me clarity on what you created me for. Just that simple. And then sit quietly and think of the things that you do easy, that you do without thought, that other people have said to you. Too much negativity, not enough positive roles these days. People, yes. But because the negativity is dressed up in positive packages, people look at the outcomes and not the purpose. That's why I said to you, that Yiddish proverb that says, man plans, God laughs. It says the English translation is man proposes, God disposes. So man proposes to other men. Men propose to other men. Look at how well I'm doing. You could too if you follow me. God doesn't even say that. God says, follow me and I got you. But he doesn't say that the way I got you is going to be the way you're going to love it. He's actually going to say that to follow me, Jesus actually said to follow me You got to be willing to go down the treacherous path, the narrow, winding road. See, everybody loves the wide road. You can chill, do whatever, have a party. A steep and narrow road, man, come on. Where death is evident, nobody wants that. So even though it's negative, people gravitate to it because it's easy. But Jesus actually said, follow me is easy because I got you. But we're so worried about this side that we can't actually focus on the other side, and that's being with Jesus and God in a better place, because we spend so much time trying to debunk the Christian myth of an actual Christ and if Jesus was real. We spend more time trying to unprove him than just saying, what would happen if I actually followed? But that's another video for another day. So before I break out, guys, any questions, any thoughts? I would love to share a few minutes with you before I go. Let me know. What's on your mind? What's on your heart? Tell me what you're thinking. Ow. Ankle killing me. And you guys that have hung in here with me, I appreciate you. Feel free to share. Feel free to put the word out. Yes, I'm still going to write books. I'm going to use them differently. My friend, listen, it's difficult. I wish I could package all you cats up and bring you down here, because it does get boring down here. And as soon as I get myself situated, man, I got to find a bowling alley. I haven't thrown a ball since May. But I was just up in New York with my moms, as I talked to you on the phone, man. I told you. I'm so glad that I left, dog. Just being home for the day. Yes. God has prepared me, Brother Lauren, and we're going to talk. Yes, no problem. When you come down in September, we'll definitely set something up. But Brother Lauren, definitely. And I think, with all the moves that we're making, I think it's even more so that God made this move now. So I realize that my speaking has to be paramount, because my speaking is how I teach. My teaching has to be paramount, so I have to definitely focus on grad school. This degree is extremely important for what I'm trying to do, because having a degree in human services with a specialization in counseling and ministry is necessary for the direction I'm going in. Yes, hey, Brother Perry, thank you, so brother. Appreciate it. How you been, man? And you guys, Brother Perry was in Wordplay 2, the poetic anthology that we created. He was one of the poets from New York that stepped in, did a wonderful job, man. Outstanding poet, outstanding author. We met at a book event some years ago. Outstanding brother, down to earth brother too. Make sure you check him out. Make sure you check out his work. And all of you that are on right now, if you have websites that you want to put out, or products that you want other people here on the page to learn, to get to know you, like Brother Green, him and he invited me to become a partner in his global marketing site. I'm excited by it, transactioncity.com. Brother Green, you can throw the website up in there if you're still on. And if you want to learn more about transactioncity.com, go to transactioncity.net. And you will see, yes, sir, we've known each other for quite some time, brother, well over 20-something years. So I appreciate you, man. Listen, we got to inspire each other. And I know you've inspired me many times. You've been a real friend, brother. And I'm always going to be there, whether I'm at a far, whatever you need me, I'm here. And like I said, if I was up for better reasons, I was trying to see my mom in the hospital, and Tiff had to take a road test today, and unfortunately she failed. But she had some negative thoughts from the beginning, so it was hard seeing her get emotional about failing, but she's going to be ready to take it again. But next time I come up to New York, I definitely got to get that music from you, man. I just found my old, it's funny what you find when you move. And I found it's like a CD folder. I got so much 80s and 90s music, but I still need the mixtapes from you, man. So when I see you, I definitely got to get that from you, but we definitely got to keep inspiring each other. But again, feel free to post any sites. You guys that are on, Brother Robert Scratch Perry, if you're in the New York area, is a DJ, a very good DJ, and a brother that is very professional. So feel free to use him at any events that you have. I have an iPod. I have an iPod and an iPad. And I have over 30, I have 30 gigs. I'm actually going to transfer all that music when I get the chance, but that's had to be secondary with this move, man. I still got a couple of boxes that I haven't broken down yet. We're pretty much set up, but we're still waiting for some furniture to be delivered, man. Listen, I'll get to that. I found cassettes. Adrena, it's funny that you mentioned cassettes. I found cassettes that I had to throw out because I said I'm just not going to try to find a recorder or something to record them. So I had to let it go. But I found a billfold, tons of CDs that I've been listening to in the car because I can't listen to some of this current music. No disrespect. My sons rode with me for one weekend and they beat me in the head with all their music. And I said, anytime I can sit in the car for a couple hours and feel like I'm listening to a foreign language, I was like, nah, man. I said, when music then got to the point that I can't understand the words, if I can't understand what you're saying, I'm not rocking with you because you might be in here calling out to the devil and I'm sitting there waving and tapping my hand. I'm good. But definitely check out Robert Scratch Perry because he has some fantastic 70s, 80s, 90s mixes. You can tell him what you want. He'll put it together for you. His prices are reasonable. And I know y'all are in two separate areas, but that's what we got mail for. He could definitely mail something out to you. Also, Brother Lauren Green is a poet, an established poet. If you go to Transaction City, put in Lauren Green's information, you'll see all his books and services there on transactioncity.com. My stuff is also on my website, bravenpublishing.com, as well as on transactioncity.com. As I said, I am partnered with Lauren, and we're going to definitely promote the site and get the site up. It is a global marketing place where brothers and sisters can come and do business for free. But it's now getting brothers and sisters to release themselves from the mental bondage. There we go, transactioncity.com. You'll find Brother Green's books are there. My books are there, and it is a global marketing place. Oh, shout out to Larry Cortez, the fisherman. Don't let that Brooklyn boy fool you. That boy fish for real. What up, Larry? How we doing, man? But really, really, guys, I appreciate all of you. I really do. And I appreciate you taking the time on being here. And again, please share this out with folks that you think it can help. And if anyone needs me to come and speak or needs me to come and be a part of what they're doing, feel free to reach out, www.bravenpublishing.com. All my contact information is there. There you go, Scratch. Definitely. DJ, yes, please, because I have a few of his CDs. Actually, my daughter loves them. She'll tell me when I start to drive, put on the music. So she definitely loves his music, and I love it too. But if you need my books, if you need me to come and speak, definitely reach out. Go to www.bravenpublishing.com or www.transactioncity.com, and you'll be able to find me and the services that I provide, and we can definitely work something out. Never be scared to reach out and talk to me. I am willing to work with you. I am not a person that's just going to walk away because you don't have enough of what I'm looking for. We'll figure something out. Brother Larry, how we doing, sir? I didn't see any pictures in the Eats group, because he likes to post. We have a Facebook group where it's dedicated to Eats, where he puts up a lot of pictures. We put up pictures of different foods and different things like that, man. But down here in Dover, Delaware, ain't a whole lot of different foods, man. I'm about to start with some more of the seafood. That works too. There's a crab place that I can get live crabs. So I will be cooking those very soon. I got to teach my daughter how to eat crab. She don't understand yet. But we're going to show her. We're going to make a real country girl out of her. But again, guys, I appreciate all of you. And if there's any questions, anything, feel free while I have you on. Like I said, feel free to share this. My ministry is my teaching. And just to sum it all up, I'm going to be in communion with God on a regular and doing more of what I believe God wants me to do, even though I know some people are not going to understand it. I believe that God is going to reward my faithfulness. And so far, so good. But look, let me jump off again. I thank all of you for taking the time on being on with me. I hope that some of you will continue to network with each other, to build a community with each other. You can do it through me or directly, but go back through the post, look at what some of the people are on, and reach out. All right. And if you need me, bravenpublishing.com, www.bravenpublishing.com. My email is main office. That's the one that I'm using. Main office at bravenpublishing.com. There we go. Jeffrey Perry just threw a link up in there. Man, listen, yes, please. And put up, I don't care which one, king crab, Alaskan crab legs, I forget the other, king crab, Alaskan king crab, and regular blue crabs. There's a ton of blue crabs here. So I'm going to teach her how to eat the blue crabs first. She likes crab meat, but I want to show her how to actually work a crab leg or two so she can get used to it, because we got a lot of family down here and crab is a big thing. So you drop out about 40, 50 crabs and you just wave the flies away and go to work. If you've never experienced it, you ain't lived. Stop worrying about that red lobster. Get out here and sit in your backyard with a few beers and have some crabs and you'd be surprised. Anyway, got me thinking about something else, man. See, y'all don't understand. On a good summer afternoon with ice cold beer and some crabs oh, man, I lost your mind, man. That that Old Bay all over the place. King crab legs and blueberry. There we go. Brother Green, you in Florida. Y'all got, they serve that, what's the crab? The king crab legs, the other crab, the one that has the claws that grow back. What is the name of that one? I remember seeing it on a show and I said, whenever I get to Florida, I believe it's near Miami, but I'm not sure that what they're called. It's a crab that you can only take off, I think, one claw, but they grow back. So, I remember seeing on one of the food shows and I said, when I go to Florida, see, look at this brother talking about he was scalloping. See, that's what I'm talking about, man. And that's actually some of the best eating rock crabs, there we go, that you can actually take one claw off, throw them back, and the claw grows back. And so, and the meat, my understanding is the meat is incredible. So when I get to Florida, I definitely want to check those out. But I have definitely down here in Delaware, being so close to Maryland, seafood is actually pretty good. I will be making some trips into Maryland, and definitely this time of the season. Yes, crabby, that's it. You can say what you want, man. Ain't nothing better than, you know, it's funny, you could eat about 13 crabs and maybe get a half a pound of meat. That's about it. It's just getting dirty. Or you need a little small mallet if you want, and get to work, man. Little ice cold beer, get to work. You can go through about 6 or 7 crabs and maybe get through a handful of meat, but you know what? It's worth it. And if you get the larger blue crabs, the bigger ones, then it's even more worth it. You can go through about a good 6 of the large ones, you good. But the smaller ones, you can go through anywhere like 10, 11, 12 and just feel like you can go through another 10, 11, 12. It's just being messy. But those crabs wasn't designed to be eaten with finesse. They were designed to be messy. All right, brothers and sisters that are on, and brothers, definitely, I appreciate you guys tremendously. Brother Green, we'll definitely talk Wednesday. And for you guys that have asked, my mother is doing better. She should be getting out of the hospital tomorrow. So thank you for the prayers. Continue to pray for her. Continue to pray for my family. And all about the favor. Yes, a bib is... Actually, you know what, bro? No. Hold on. Before I go, because I was just about to ask you for scratch. There's no bibs, bro. When you really crabbing, you throw the newspaper out on your table. You dump the crabs out on the table. You put your beer on the table, and you get to work. No bibs, man. This ain't Joe's Crab Shack. This ain't Red Lobster City Island. You sit outside the back of somebody's house, wave the flies away, and get to work, man. That's how you do it with blue crab. See, when you want Alaskan or king crab or Dungeness, you go to the restaurants, you sit down, they bring you a big crab, you get your bib, and you get a little smiles. I'm talking about good old fashioned stuff flying. There we go. Either way, it's going. Yes, sir. That's true. But I'm talking about a mess. I'm talking about where there's so many shells and stuff, you can't even put it in your trash can in your house. You got to put it in a plastic bag, wrap it up, and take it somewhere else. Yeah, we got about 20. There you go. 200 crabs every time we go out. Chicken on the string. Just eat. There we go. There you go. They walk right. And you know what's funny is that's exactly how I was taught in South Jersey. Get up early in the morning, bait your traps. You put a little piece of chicken in there on the hook. Just leave them there. The crabs pile it, and they beat each other to get in. And you good. Larry love faith. And Larry, you up in the Poconos, so you good, man. All that good. I see you fishing on a regular, man. So I know you loving it up there. I know every weekend it's got to be wonderful. I saw the pictures with you and the boys. Seagirt, South Jersey is where we go. Okay, we used to, years ago, it would be right off of, it had to be down near the shore. Because it was, no, not the Rehoboth Beach is here in Delaware. But it used to be a 25-minute ride down South Jersey from where I was. I'm down near the Delaware Bridge. But it used to be down towards the shore. And would go out then, and I actually used to go deep sea fishing, get real whitings, flounder. Actually, it was the first time I saw an oyster cracker and really get live fish. And the guy used to clean it right there at the docks and put it in solid plastic bags. And we would come back home from fishing and give it to our moms and have it cooked, or the rest would be frozen. And a lot of our kids don't know what fishing is. A lot of our children don't understand what it is to go out and grow. We actually had a garden when I lived in South Jersey. So I had fresh zucchini, fresh squash, tomatoes. We had a peach tree. We had so much when I lived in South Jersey that came right about our own yard. And fishing was something that we did. Thank you, brother. Larry, I appreciate that, brother. We've had a chance to talk in the last year or so, and I really do appreciate you, bro. I appreciate many of the compliments that you've given me, and I'm trying, bro. I'm simply just trying to do what God places on my heart to do, and hopefully if it leads other brothers somewhere, or it helps sisters somehow, I appreciate it. So I appreciate that, bro. I really do. And I'm watching you too, man. I see you drifting further and further away from the city. I know it's just a matter of getting your boys up there full time, and then that's it. But I see that you making moves to get away from that city also. So listen, all the best to you also. Because I see the pictures. I saw you and your boys out on the water. I loved it, man. More brothers need to see that. And Brother Green, you down there in Florida, so you got away from the metro area and getting some of that great sun and that unpolluted air. So, man, listen, I'm proud of all you brothers that are making moves. But the key now is we got to hook up. We got to pass on information of each other, about each other to others. Let folks know what I'm doing. Let folks know what Lauren Green is doing. Yes, sir. So you guys that are on tonight, if you don't know my dude, Lauren Green is a mastermind. He is a monster. Make sure that you check out Transaction City. He posted the code. He posted the link a few posts ago, but go by Transaction City even just to do your shopping. It is a global marketing place, which means there is tons of things that are on the site that people are selling. I'll be there. I'm there. My books are there, but I'm working on getting other authors to show up and just stop by. And if you want to set up a store for yourself, if there's something that you're selling, it's free of charge. By all means, do so. It is a global market. You're not limited to any particular market. You're open to the world. And who knows who's going to come by and see your stuff. And if you know people that are in business, share the link with them. TransactionCity.com. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go by TransactionCity.net and check out the information behind the site and why I even bothered to partner with Brother Green, because I'm a believer. And I think there's something to be done here. All right, brothers. Well, listen, let me jump off. It was a pleasure to have a conversation with all of you, and thank you for taking the time out. Again, I appreciate that I was able to help somebody tonight, but it is time to get some work done. God bless, guys. I'll talk to you soon.